online at cavetalkradio.com, the Cave Talk Radio app for Apple and Android, and of course, Amazon Alexa. Now, Facebook and YouTube Live, Cave Talk Radio NY on those respective platforms. Join us there. We'd be happy to have you. Gary Ayd, Rich Anselmo. And a thing happened last night. There was a guy, forget his name. It rhymes with nudge, I think. Oh, yeah, Aaron Judge moved into sole possession of 7th place all time for single season home runs. Oh, God, I had to go there. Yeah, I went there because I'm seeing headlines saying all-time home run king. No, let's call it what it is. 7th best season all time for single season home runs. Sammy Sosa's got 4 of them. Mark McGwire has 1, and Barry Bonds has the top slot. And Judge is in there now.
McGwire has 2.
2, right? You're right. That's right. McGwire does have 2.
He is tops in the American League.
Tops all time in the American League. Yes, that is correct. That is
not all time.
Right. So he is 7th all time for single season home runs, tops all time for single season home runs in the American League. A sterling accomplishment, all joking aside. And this is what I hate about this. This is why I was telling you yesterday, we were talking privately. I was rooting for him not to get this, not for any reason about him, purely because I don't want to be having to have this conversation that 73 is higher than 62. Or whatever Judge ends up finishing with. It's not going to be 73. I don't want to be having this conversation for the rest of time, but I'm going to be. And the thing is, this crowd, this steroid crowd, ruins and sullies and hurts any kind of record that happens subsequent to it. Because if it's not really a record, like this isn't, it's an American League record. It's not a Major League Baseball record. And they try to make it as such, there's a certain percentage of the population of which I'm a member that is going to automatically rally against it and kind of view it as less enjoyable and less amazing than I might ordinarily do. And that's a problem. And that's not, it's not right or wrong, but it just is. And it wouldn't be the case if they weren't so insufferable about the subject. Look, we've been having this conversation for 20 plus years now. We're going to have it for 20 plus more. The bottom line is this. No one knows who used it. No one knows how much it really helped. And the truth is, the only guys we talk about are the guys who were the greats. How many Glenn Allen Hills did we have? How many Randy Velardes were there? How good was Ken Caminiti? He had a couple of years where he was pretty good, but he wasn't an all-time great. He's like the king of steroids, right? Like him and Jose Canseco, who's now like, missing a finger or something. Like, let's get over it. Like, they all used, or not all of them, but the whole era had access. And to your point from our talk yesterday, who's to say they're not currently using? I mean, we all know this. Like, if you ever watched a Hollywood Western, the bandits are always ahead of the cops. You don't think that in the last 25 years, there haven't been massive advancements in technology that allow for more covert cheating that doesn't involve failing these tests, which haven't been updated as far as I know?
There's probably more masking agents out there now.
Right, exactly. So
than there was then and has been, say, in the last 15, 20 years. Think about this, though. In the steroid era, 75% of the players were juiced. And that's a conservative estimate.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't 75% of them set records?
Right. Right.
Because if you got talent, you got talent.
And also, that's the thing, is like, ultimately, the only way this resolves, the only way this whole, cloud that's malaise that it always props up when you're talking about, when there's ever some kind of record-setting thing, you have your two camps on this. The only way this ever resolves is for everyone to arrive at the place that I've been at since the steroid thing started 20-something years ago, which is let them shoot up in the on-deck circle. Who cares? Ultimately, it's their life, it's their body, it's their potential long-term health at risk. They're not risking anyone else. And before we get the whole, well, kids look up to them crap, I quote Charles Barkley, you are not a role model. I am not a role model if I'm an athlete, and it's a parent's job to teach their kid right from wrong. And I firmly believe that. And I don't care that Hank Aaron and Babe Ruth didn't have access to the same stuff. Well, these guys today have disadvantages that Hank and Babe enjoyed advantages of, namely lack of significant relief pitching, lack of specialized left-handers. In Babe Ruth's case, lack of black players. Every era has its advantages and disadvantages when compared to others, so I don't want to hear that argument either. Ultimately, I think the way to solve the steroid thing is to just, open door policy. Do what you want with your body. That have to get to, I think. I've always believed that.
Provided you don't go into roid rage and go killing somebody or something.
Well, I mean, ultimately, if you do that, then you're going to get thrown into jail. Well, and you're fine. But ultimately...
Unless you're in the NFL.
Oh, no, they'll get thrown into jail, too. Michael Vick went to jail, and so did Dave Meggett. So, no, and so did Aaron Hernandez. They faced their crimes. So... I have no issue with just making this stuff just legal and let's just drop the pretense, because as we said before, it's likely still going. And this is exactly, we've spent the last 5-6 minutes on this. This is exactly my point with this rant, is that it's a shame that this is the headline and this is the thing that you're going to take out of this when Judge does something that's, fairly historic, but it just is. And it's because people won't accept that 73 is higher than 62. Just accept the numbers for what they are. Numbers are numbers.
You never went to one of those alternate math classes? Come on.
I did. In fact, I remember a teacher trying to teach me imaginary numbers. I was in 10th grade. I remember saying, wait, so they're imaginary, so they don't really exist. She's like, that's right, but they could exist. I was like, well, I could fly if I was a bird. But I'm not. So I don't care. Oh, anyway, what a crazy, crazy world. But congratulations to Aaron Judge and the New York Yankees. I mean, what a cool thing. It is amazing. 62 home runs is a boatload of home runs. And it's also cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. But let's hear from the man himself. Let's hear the moment itself as it happened. Aaron Judge, number 62.
Here's the 1-1. Swung on. There it goes. Deep left. It is high. It is far. It is gone. Number 62 to set the new American League record. Aaron Judge hits his 62nd. All the Yankees out of the dugout to greet him. Just think of it. 3 Yankee right fielders. The Babe hitting 60 and 27. The Jolly Roger hitting 61 and 61. And now Aaron Judge hits his 62nd home run, the most home runs any American leaguer has hit in a single season. And the American League has been alive for 120 years. This is Judgment Day. Case closed.
Oh, gee, we need 1 or 2 more puns in that whole thing.
I'm telling you, hire me. I'll take care of that.
The American League's been around for over 100 years, and John Sterling's chasing that record.
That's right. He's been around for 80 of those. Oh, gosh.
Do you have the post-gamer, Judge's post-gamer?
I don't know.
I looked for it today and could not find it.
Yeah, I mean, I have one other clip here. I got let's see, I got Judge. Oh, this is probably what you're talking about. I don't know if it's a full post game, but this is Judge's own comments on it. If you want to hear that.
Please play that.
Okay, let's see what we got here. But yeah, I love John Sterling. He's just one of a kind. He's absolutely awesome. The Jolly Roger. It's amazing.
Stole that from the Pirates.
That it was a relief to have that past you. How much of a relief is this one?
Oh, it's a big relief. I think everybody can finally sit down in their seats and watch the ball game. It's been a fun ride so far. Getting a chance to do this. The team we got, the guys surrounding me.
I don't know.
Constant support. From my family who's been with me there. Through this whole thing is. It's been a great honor, and also, Roger Maris Jr., him and his family, supporting and being along for the ride too. A lot of thanks and congratulations to them too for their constant support through this whole process. Because I know it's a tough situation. Your dad's legacy, and you want to uphold that, but getting a chance to meet their family, they're wonderful people, and getting a chance to have my name next to someone like Roger Maris, Babe Ruth, those guys is incredible.
Now, if you watched that last night, if you watched that live and played a drinking game, every time he said you'd still be hammered.
Oh man!
Oh my God!
Don't you know it?
He can't go a sentence without saying and it's funny, and it's, if I'd have had a bottle of scotch around you I wouldn't be here this morning.
Oh, don't you know it? Unbelievable. Ay. No, what's funny about that is that, like, all joking aside, those type of nervous tics and crutch words really indicate the sincerity of his thoughts, though. He's a very sincere, very level-headed guy, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Yankees are going to have to pay him whatever he wants to get paid, basically. And I'm going to say conservatively, this cost the Yankees by not signing him in the offseason and what Judge has done this year. I'm going to say it cost them somewhere between $65 and $100 million.
I'd laugh if the Mets signed him.
That would be great. I already saw a meme going around about that. It would be even funnier if the Red Sox signed him. I know you hate the Red Sox, but just from the standpoint of, like, salt and wound, oh, baby. I actually wonder what's that?
A major market that could really use him? Chicago.
That's true, like the Cubs.
The Cubs really need someone that can hit like that. They got to sign some people and get people into Wrigley again. What I've been seeing out of them is just terrible.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I also think that if either the Mets or the Red Sox were to sign Aaron Judge, the most interesting piece from such a bombshell story would be, and we'd have to wait till the first time that they played in Yankee Stadium. I would love to see the Yankee fans' reception of Judge if he were to sign with either of those teams. Because I think Judge has won that PR battle. I think the team would get booed, not necessarily him. That's what I think. But if it was the Red Sox, I don't know if that would be the case. Maybe not so much with the Mets. There's always been this kind of like ambivalent, like little brother, big brother relationship with the Mets and Yankee fan bases. So I get the sense that if he signed with the Mets, it wouldn't be the same reception. But if he signed with the Red Sox, that would be really interesting to see how Judge would be received by Yankee fans.
And I know he joked about that a month ago.
He did.
About signing with the Red Sox. I don't think he was serious.
Oh, that would be something.
But I think he planted that seed just to see what he could stir up.
Yeah, it was a sly move, like a sleight of hands type of thing.
And to his credit, he is not with negotiation battle or anything. He has not said a word.
It's true.
He's just gone out there, done his job. I mean, he's a possibility for the Triple Crown. Be joining Miguel Cabrera as recent people to do that. Only 12 players have ever had it.
That's it.
Ever had a Triple Crown. Now, the thing is, his average dropped here going for homers, so he needs a perfect day at the plate. And hope that Arias of Texas just goes cold for the last day to get that batting title. Because he's second right now with a 310 average. Man, 310 would not have you in the top 5 in the National League.
No. And it's also, it's annoying because like 310 is like, you know, at one point in time, probably not even in the top 10. Like top,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, like it used to be batting titles were won in the 330s to 350s.
Yeah, can you imagine how George Brett would feel if he was hitting 310?
Yeah, he'd be about as happy as he was with the pine tar incident.
Yeah.
That's still one of my favorite sports clips of all time. I really think he's about to have a heart attack. It looks like he's hyperventilating. Oh, his face. Oh my, the whole thing is priceless. Absolutely priceless.
Speaking of free agents who a team needs to sign, and probably should have done it already. One of the most consistent players for the Nets all year had another good night last night. Brandon Nimmo he was the one bright spot in the Atlanta series. He's been doing everything with the bat and the glove. If they let him get away.
Unless they get Aaron Judge.
Yeah, but when Aaron Judge gets hurt and misses 50 games, you're going to wish you had Nimmo back.
That's true. Give me Nimmo or give me Judge. That's not quite what they said, but hey, we'll leave it there. Hey,
I think it was give me potatoes or give me death. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe. It might have been tea. But you guys threw it all in the ocean. Oh, that's right. Never mind. All right, let's take a break before we go crazy. Might be too late, but hey, we'll try. Big news out of the NBA. There's a trade that seems to be on the cusp of happening. We'll give you the details on that. Also, we got our question of the day. Back after this, it's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
It's October 5th. I'm Rich Anselmo with Cave Sports Rewind. In 1950, Bob Cousy was drafted by the Tri-City Blackhawks. When he was drafted, he didn't know where the team was located, and he informed them he would not play for them. Instead, he would only play for Syracuse or Boston. Soon after Cousy was drafted, Red Auerbach was hired by Boston. At this time, Cousy was traded to the Chicago Stags. However, the team folded, so all of their players went into a dispersal draft. Teams picked players' names who had been placed into a hat. On this day in 1950, Red Auerbach picked Cousy's name out of a hat. Cousy was happy. Auerbach was not. Red would prove to be a tough coach for Cousy. Auerbach told the press that if a Celtics player dropped a pass, he would blame Cousy for it. However, Cousy's dynamic playmaking skills contrasted with the slow pace of the NBA, which had not yet adopted the 24-second shot clock. So over time, Auerbach came to appreciate Cousy's rare talents. Cousy played well in his first 2 seasons. The Celtics finished with a winning record each of those years, but lost in the playoffs. However, they were improving, and Cousy was making a name for himself because of his unique style of play. During Cousy's second season, Auerbach encouraged the team to run the fast break. He encouraged the Celtics to bring the basketball up the floor quickly. In Cousy, he had the perfect point guard to run that style of play. And the rest, of course, is serious NBA history. I'm Rich Anselmo, and this is The Cave, Orange County's conversation station.
All right, we're back. Interesting history lesson there, as always, from Rich on Bob Cousy, the Houdini of the hardwood, still kicking in his mid to late 90s. Good for him. You know,
and Auerbach did not want him.
Imagine that. That's something. Hey, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
True.
As far as Red Auerbach is concerned, he was both. All right, now speaking of the NBA, before we get to the question of the day, I'm reading reports. No details yet onto the in terms of who would be going back to Utah, but there are reports out there that they are close to dealing Jordan Clarkson to the Milwaukee Bucks. Ooh, that would be dangerous. Again, I don't know what Milwaukee would be sending back. I'm sure it'll be draft capital plus something to make money work. Maybe, a piece of the nature of George Hill perhaps might have a contract that could get there. We'd have to really look into that, but it makes perfect sense that Milwaukee would add a piece like that. And it makes perfect sense, like we've been talking, that the Jazz would jettison him. They already jettisoned Bogdanovich. Now it's just Conley. And then it's complete. Then it's, the Utah State basketball team circumventing as the Jazz.
Oklahoma City North.
Yeah, that's right. My goodness.
If the Bucks had Clarkson last year,
yeah, I think
might have won a title.
I think they would have, because he's capable of providing most of the offense that you lost with Middleton being out. I mean, Jordan Clarkson is a professional scorer in every sense of the word. That guy can just straight get buckets.
Can you imagine him coming off the bench in Milwaukee?
No, I'm saying I can. That's the thing. It's going to be that. I mean, depending what they give up, that's going to be scary.
I think George Hill's more than movable.
No, he is more than movable. And I think that he's an expiring contract, I believe. He would be
so Utah can just cut it.
They could cut him, or he could be a low impact veteran to kind of, someone's got to, have the fake ID to get these kids boost. It's got to be someone at least 21. My God.
Yeah, you don't want to have to ask the coach.
No, exactly. And hell, the coach is barely 30-something himself.
Speaking of coaches, what's your take on the Celtics talking to Frank Vogel and Terry Stotts?
Well, I think they're both excellent coaches. Vogel in particular, I think, I like both of them a lot, but I've always thought Vogel, along with Thibodeau and one or two others, is the best defensive mind in the NBA. And unlike Thibodeau, he doesn't run his players into the ground, and he doesn't grade on people. He lets people kind of do their thing. He gives them space, so to speak. So I think that would be a tremendous hire. The question would be with him and with both of them, but more so him than Stotts, who's more of an offensive guy. Would they be able to replicate the secret sauce that Udoka was able to concoct in terms of blending and getting to work together Brown and Tatum? Because I always got the sense that truce, that blend of those two was very much something that required the constant hand of the coach to attain and maintain. And and we've not seen, Brad Stevens couldn't get it done with that in that regard. Udoka was the one who figured it out. And can someone else do that? That's the question.
If someone can, I would think it was Vogel. And I'll give you two different scenarios here. Either the players have enough where they're comfortable with it now.
Yep, that's possible.
And may not need to be prodded, or Vogel keeps the right defensive assistants on that Celtics bench. I think either way, it gets done.
Offensive assistants, you mean?
Yes,
yeah.
Offensive.
Yeah. No, he doesn't need any assistance with defense.
No,
that's his calling card.
Vogel's a defensive whiz.
Yeah, he is. Always was. No, I think Vogel, to me, if they're going to go in a different direction, of the available coaches, he would be my first choice. I think he's a great coach, a championship coach, won a lot of games in Indiana too. He even had Orlando looking reasonable before they got rid of everybody and then decided that it was his fault that they couldn't win when they got rid of everybody, because, that makes sense. But hey.
And they still get rid of everybody. They liked it so much, they just keep on doing
Did it again. It's something with that Florida weather, man. It's got to be. Like, even the little engine that could, the Rays, you don't ever, I mean, you do because you're a baseball nerd, but like the average person, you don't have any idea who these guys are. I mean, like, they managed to pull it off, but all these teams, the Marlins, the Orlando Magic, the Dolphins. Now the Dolphins are finally on the other side of this. It looks like they're trying to actually be something. But for years, man, it's just, my God, like, can we have a player? And the thing with the Marlins that always drove you crazy is they would win a title and then they would just sell everything, and then they were lucky enough to do it again. Like,
Yeah,
6 years later. It's
They
like,
did it
oh my
twice and
God.
dumped the roster.
It's like, why are they rewarding this? Come on, baseball gods, wake up.
Well,
Oh,
Tampa Bay, I mean, I've been telling you for a few years about some of the players they drafted
oh yeah. I mean, they draft and develop brilliantly.
and how good they were going to be. They have an excellent system.
Yeah, they draft and develop brilliantly. The problem is they don't keep anybody long term. Every once in a while, you'll get like a Evan Longoria or a Kevin Kiermaier. I think they really should keep Wander Franco and Randy Arozarena. If they could keep those two guys, that would be awesome because they're both marketable players that people are going to know.
And then you got something to build around.
Right, and you have something to build around when you bring in the next crop of high schoolers.
As far as that goes, I mean, you could say the same thing for the Orioles. No one drafts better. They have a farm system that's just packed. The problem is they don't keep anybody.
That's right.
Now, after what they did this season, even though they didn't make the playoffs, they had a pretty damn good year. And I'm hoping that changes.
Well, I know.
Of course, I'm also hoping they sell the team, but
Well,
Ted Leonsis wants it, and I want him to have it.
that would be awesome, actually. He's a good owner.
He's not afraid to spend. I think that would work perfectly.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Then we are in agreement.
Hey, we are. That's right.
To the bar.
To the bar for some Yukon Jack, baby.
Oh, Yukon Jack. Nectar of the gods.
That's right. You put me onto that crazy stuff. By the way, here's a pro tip for you. Well, I shouldn't be doing this, but hey, what the hell? We're talking about facetiously underage drinkers before. Just order some Yukon Jack. They won't think to ID you. If you know what that is, they just assume you're 50 years old. Even if you look 20. I mean, hey.
Well, if somebody says anything, just tell them you're well preserved from all the Yukon.
That's right. I'm well preserved. That's right. Oh my goodness. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. When we come back, we'll do the radio question of the day. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
To stay or to go? I am KO, back in 1 minute with your sports question of the day.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
800-414-1657. 800-414-1657. 800-414-1657. That's 800-414-1657.
In 2016, when U.S. Bank Stadium opened in Minneapolis, the Department of Homeland Security recommended the construction of a security fence around the stadium's perimeter. Years later, that fence is finally on the agenda. Lester Bagley, the Vikings' vice president of public affairs, said there's a lot happening at the stadium, and it's time to move this project forward. Vikings owner Mark Wilf added that the goal is to offer a safe, fun experience for families. Question: as security issues become more prevalent at our nation's stadiums, do you or do you not find yourself wanting to watch the game from home?
This is a serious question, and it's a very good one. I think there probably is I know there is a significant portion of the population that probably would answer in the affirmative here. I think a lot of it has to do, at least for me, this isn't something that overly concerns me necessarily, although I understand its presence. My biggest piece to this, I think, component of what constructs the rising level of lack of feeling safe at these things for some people, I think for me, is the issue of just the rising crime rate in general in most of the major cities, which happen to be, of course, the site or proximity of most of these venues, or all of these venues, really. So I think that I don't know if minor league sports wants to play dirty like this, particularly baseball, which in more cases than not is directly affiliated and in some cases even supplemented financially by a parent major league club. But I think with the right type of edgy marketing campaign, minor league sports, which tend to be played in safer, more secluded suburbs, I think they could very well use this as a marketing ploy to gain some of those people as like, you know what, come here. It's a good product. It's safe. It's more fun, and it's affordable. I think that's a very valid marketing campaign if they want to go that route. I don't know that they will. That's just a side note. But to the question, yeah, I think this is definitely a concern, but I think it's a bigger concern than what the leagues or teams can do for themselves. I think they're obviously the Vikings in this example are taking a proactive approach with this fence, which I think is a good idea. But I mean, this is a bigger question of rising crime in these areas, more so than it is a question of violence at these games specifically. I don't know that the games themselves necessarily cause the rise in violence. I think it's more you're seeing it there because that's a place of congregation, of course. And you have these rising violent statistics in these cities at society at large at that level that then is obviously being most visible in areas of mass congregation, which of course sporting events are one of the chief examples of that.
Agreed, and I think it's societal as well.
It is. So that's what I'm saying. It absolutely is.
I mean, it's brutal. And I live in a city that has had a mass shooting in this calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's normal to think about things like that when you walk to a supermarket, when you're ready to walk in the door. Think about stadiums that hold anywhere from 55 to 95,000 people. Without taking security measures, and of course it takes time. Anything going through the government takes time. You have to realize how important it is. I think any new stadium that gets built should have this in their budget,
Mm-hmm.
not as an afterthought at the beginning. And unfortunately, that's the way this society is heading. And I would not want to go somewhere where I feared for my life.
Yeah, no, well, no one wants to do that, obviously. I guess that is that's more the feeling out here of what percentage of people feel that way and what percentage of people will soon feel that way if things continue to escalate, and at what point that's the valuation you have to make. At what point does it become, okay, we got to do something here? Obviously, the Vikings feel they've reached that point already. Other teams may not feel that way. And I don't know that there's enough of a concrete answer here to say there's a right or wrong answer. But I do think that this will be a constant conversation for the foreseeable future until things hopefully eventually do calm down again. But it's, I suppose, once you've the question is based around making the capital investment to build these systems. I suppose that if you make that decision now or next year, and 8 years from now, 5 years from now, the need for it's no longer there because society has cooled down, one could hope, you're not going to tear it down at that point. At that point, the money's been spent and it's already there. So it's going to be a matter of, how many teams take similar measures by when. But yeah, I mean, I think it's fair. I mean, because no one has a right to tell anyone what they should and shouldn't feel safe doing, or that's a wholly personal decision. Now, it's also no one's place to tell a team when they should make a capital investment of untold millions. They're going to do that when it makes fiscal sense to do. And obviously the Vikings think it has. Enough of their patrons are of that mindset. They must have received that feedback, thus their decision. So it's an interesting conversation.
Well, I remember reading about this last month with Athletic Business, and they do put out some really interesting stuff. Apparently, it's going to take about a year to find the right design. Because they don't want something that makes the stadium look bad.
Right.
And I understand that.
Yeah.
And then once you get that design, well, how's it going to be funded? Like you said.
Right.
You can't cost it until it's designed. And who's going to pay for it? At this point, neither the Vikings, the stadium, or anyone know how this is going to be funded. Will it have to come up to a referendum? There's a lot of questions with it. I don't think it's a bad idea.
Right.
But there are a lot of questions that have to be answered.
Oh, there are. And this is one thing. This is a total separate issue. But it bothers me whenever this comes up. It's amazing the complexities of getting things paid for by, under the purview of billionaires who could definitely just make it simple and pay for it themselves. Like, like I understand, when you're building a new stadium, the public domain that's exerted by the governments of that area. So I understand why the ownership group would want to get some type of concessions, because obviously they're going to have to deal with untold costs of compliance and local taxes and everything else. So I understand it to a degree, but these things sometimes take years and sometimes even a decade, and then they don't happen, and it's all because of okay, let's say it's a $1.3 billion stadium build. Well, if Steve Ballmer is worth $80 billion, I'm not saying he did this, but just using that as an example, why the hell would I fight over that? That would be like me spending 10 years arguing an electric bill of $400. Why am I doing that? Let's get it done.
And Ballmer put his money where his mouth
is. He did. He's a bad example because he's actually an example of the opposite of this.
We need a new stadium to play in.
Let's
I'll
do it.
Build one. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
But that's also very rare.
It is. And that's
I mean here in Buffalo they've been negotiating a new stadium, new football stadium, and the ownership group has put in so little money. They're talking about, well, we have all these millions going to it. Well, first, over 200 million of that came from a loan from the NFL. Research NFL stadium loans and tell me how many of these loans have been paid back. It's not a loan. You were just handed money.
Right.
And they're going to sell personal seat licenses to make up for some of that money he's putting in. And you're talking in the thousands of dollars for the right to have a ticket for 15 years, the right to buy a ticket. That might work just fine in some cities. In a market like Buffalo, it's going to be a tough sell.
No, it is. I mean, there's no question about it.
I mean, they did it in Cleveland, and I was surprised they got away with it.
Yeah, I mean, those PSLs, they annoy me because it's like you're paying a fee to buy a season ticket that you're going to pay a fee for. It's
Right.
like,
so then you're going to charge me $5,000 and then tell me that in 15 years it renews? Hold on here a second.
yeah, wait a minute.
I know people that are saying, I'm enjoying my tickets now because I know in 5 years I'm not going to have them. And I hear that from a lot of people. That's sad.
Yeah, that really is sad. Really is. But
yeah, they bounced back big on today's question from yesterday.
Yes, they did.
Wow, that was great.
That was a good one. Absolutely. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the hour. We'll kind of get you set for hour 2, and we'll continue on from there. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Let's get back to the Gary Ayd Show on The Cave, Orange County's conversation station.
All righty, so the baseball season is winding down. The Mets in the wild card. The Yankees and Judge got their record. So now we just kind of wait. It's kind of anticlimactic at this point. Everything's kind of more or less settled.
Everything is settled.
The Mets will have the Padres. The Yankees, I believe, are going to get what is it, Seattle?
The winner of Toronto-Seattle.
Yep. So Seattle or Toronto, right? Which that game, those games will be held
in Toronto.
So let's pull up a playoff map here.
And the Rays finishing in third is a third wild card seed, have to go to Cleveland to play the Guardianas. Not going to be easy.
No.
They just win games. They have just been played so well, and they're an extremely young team too.
Yeah, they definitely are.
Now, Starling Marte will likely miss the wild card series.
Yes.
And that's going to hurt.
Agreed.
They're off without him. And people have to pick up the slack.
That's true. No question about it.
Everybody in that lineup has to take a step up. Team who's been pitching extremely well the last month or so. Snell's been just wiping people out. Darvish, there's a reason he was NL Pitcher of the Month in September. What was he, 5-1 with a 1.45 ERA? Pitching just great. Musgrove, the three have been pitching well. The Mets can match that pitching. They have to, hitters have to take a step up because you're missing a big piece. You're missing someone who sets the table, gets on base, and can get the extra base. So a lot of people are going to really have to take their game one more level. The biggest advantage is, of course, it's at Citi Field.
Yes. Yep. And the other thing that the Mets have going for them, which, the Brave series withstanding, they still are going to line up DeGrom, Scherzer, and Bassett. Now,
right.
Any team, no matter how good they're playing, if they have to run into those three, particularly the first two, that's not an easy task.
When you coming up against that kind of pitching, the best thing you can do is try to make it as long at bats as possible. You want them to be in the fourth inning having thrown 74, 75 pitches.
Yes.
If you can, the quicker you can get to people that you might be able to hit. And the Padres have been hitting as well. They're finally getting home runs out of a guy they traded half the roster for. And Manny Machado's been a beast all year.
Oh, yes.
And the Crone zone, too. Cronenworth is...
I was surprised they were able to keep him when they traded for Soto. And for their sake, I'm glad they did, because he's been as you were just getting ready to say, Rich, sorry to cut you off, he's been an X factor.
He has. He doesn't have the average. And everyone knows it. But he gets more clutch hits than a lot of people do. And again, he's one of those guys, when he gets on base, he makes things happen.
Yes, he does. Yep, he absolutely does. And it's definitely a deep lineup.
It's going to be a fun series.
It is. I think the Mets are and should be the favorite, and I think they will win this series. But I do understand. I do understand the concern. I mean, because this is a solid opponent.
Right.
It is.
Not the kind of opponent you want in the first round either.
No, but this was a pretty much a foregone conclusion, right? Like, because I mean, the NL, no matter what the seeding shakeout turned out to be, there were no easy outs. I mean, the worst team in the NL would probably be, at worst, the third best team in the AL, right? Like right now, like take the Padres or take
the Phillies, who are the sixth seed.
The sixth seed. Besides the Yankees and the Astros in the American League, is there any team that you would say would be favored against the Phillies? I would say no.
Possibly the Jays.
maybe, but I like the Phillies lineup depth better. I don't know. So I think my point is, in the National League, there were going to be no free lunches, no matter what happened here.
No. And the Phillies, they're all celebrating. They made the playoffs. Hey, guess what? They're going to St. Louis. That's no picnic. None of these series in the National League are going to be easy.
No, it's very true.
And what's the prize behind door number 2 for the winner of the Mets Padres? Oh, the Dodgers.
Yeah. Yay.
St. Louis has got to be sitting there going, yeah, we've handled the Phillies okay.
Yes.
Oh, the Braves are next? Oh, all right. The defending champions.
Unbelievable.
And I have no doubt that if your National League championship is the Braves and Dodgers, the Braves could beat them again.
Oh, no question about it.
This team has shown a lot of resilience.
No, it's true. It's very true. I mean, like, this is like I was saying yesterday, the Braves have an attribute that is palpable when you're watching it, and it is describable, but it's not very tangible. And that is that ability. You felt it with the 90s Yankees. You feel it with this rendition of the Astros over these last 7-8 years. Championship teams have this aura of you're nervous as their opponent in key spots because they're going to capitalize on those opportunities. And they're going to get a key hit. They're going to, have a moment in an inflection point of the game where they create trouble for the other team. That's just what these championship teams do. And the Dodgers, to me, even though they won the title in 2020, don't have that feeling. They have a feeling of a team that's just got overwhelming talent. But when they run into teams that are close enough in talent that they can hang around, like the Braves, who also have that little something extra.
Yeah, the Braves did last year. A couple of years, the Giants knocked the Dodgers out.
Yep.
And they were not as talented.
No, they were not.
But they were just one of those teams. The Giants, through the mid-last decade, had that it factor for years.
Yep. No, it's true. It's true. I think ultimately, the Dodgers have so much talent. Freddie Freeman's been such a boom for them. I mean, he's leading the National League in almost everything. It's crazy. I think that ultimately he's going to maybe change that dynamic a little bit, because he brings some of that from the Braves. Obviously, he was a big part of that kind of culture last year, if you will. So
he grew up there. He spent his whole career there.
That's right. That's right. No, it's interesting. The baseball playoffs are right around the corner. Very
Thursday,
very
I think we start.
Yes, it's gonna be exciting stuff. I can't wait.
You know what series I'm really interested in?
What's that?
American League wise, Seattle at Toronto. It's two different teams.
Yep.
But two teams that haven't been here in a bit. The Jays have from time to time. Seattle hasn't since 20 years ago.
It's true.
21 years ago. I was glad to see them get in. I think this is going to be an excellent series. I think that's tough travel.
Oh, Seattle's a brutal place to have to go.
Well, they're not. The games are in Toronto.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying that, like, if Seattle were to move forward in that series, whoever gets to play them, obviously in the second round, they would have some home games. And I'm just saying that that's a tough place to play.
It would be Houston, so it wouldn't be as bad if it were like the Yankees.
Right. But
across the Seattle's going to face the same thing travel-wise that the Padres are. I mean, the Padres are traveling cross-country, too.
Right.
That takes something out of you, at least for the first game. And in a best-of-3, a first game's crucial.
Oh, it's huge. It's absolutely huge.
But I think Seattle and Toronto is going to be fun. I love watching Rodriguez play for the Mariners. This kid is amazing, and he's what, 20, 21?
Unbelievable.
And they locked him up for the next decade. And I'm glad they did.
Absolutely.
Home runs, stealing bases, excellent defensive shortstop. That's something to build around. And former Blue Jay Robbie Ray's in the rotation for this series for Seattle.
Hey, there you go.
So you got a little something there. That series intrigues me.
That's a good one. It's understandable why it's intriguing.
It intrigues me more than Cleveland, Tampa Bay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Cleveland, Tampa Bay. I mean, Cleveland's intriguing a little bit because of their youth.
Oh, yeah.
Tampa Bay is like going to like town hall. Like they're so not interesting, so sterile, so boring, but very consistent. You know what you're getting, which is a bill. It's just a matter of how much. They're just not I'm sorry, they're just not interesting. Randy Arozarena, after his splashy debut, has not really lived up to that.
I think he's carried them a lot this year, especially with Franco missing more than half the
well,
year.
no, he's been. That's what I was trying to say. It's not that he hasn't lived up to his play level. It's that he's not providing the excitement. He's not the box office draw that he was as a rookie. That hasn't carried over. And that's really more than anything else what the Rays really need is they need some sizzle, man. Like you don't sell the steak, you sell the sizzle.
I'm surprised Franco has not offered that.
Well, he's not a power hitter.
I get it. He's missed half the year.
And
it's his share.
Yeah.
But I would go to watch him play.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm probably not the test market either.
No. I'm a fan of the Rays. Arozarena is my favorite player on that team. He is.
Arozarena hits jacks.
Yeah, and he's just exciting. He can be exciting. He runs around the bases a certain way. Like there's something about him that I really just find captivating. Is what I would say. So,
I don't know who you could get to captivate the Tampa Bay market, though. I don't.
Yeah.
Who would they turn up for?
That's a good question. I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah, that just gave me an idea. Top 5.
Oh no. Here we go.
Which we're gonna do right after the break, are we not?
We sure are. As a matter of fact, we're gonna do that in just a couple of minutes here. One thing that I wanted to add to this though, real quick, is that if you're Tampa Bay, how much longer are you satisfied being, competitive but not winning?
I think the worst thing that happened to them was getting a ring.
Well, he never got a ring.
They got an American League ring.
Yeah.
I think that got them complacent. Oh, we'll be back. We'll get it next time. And you won't.
Right.
Because you haven't gotten better.
That's true.
You've just pretty much stayed still. I think that was the worst thing to happen to them. And like you said, in a market that needs sizzle, it's not there. Yeah. It should be with the two players.
And it should be so much easier to find sizzle in Florida. I mean, if you've ever been there, it's plenty sizzly.
Oh, I
have. It's plenty sizzly.
Just throw a crock on the grill and relax.
There we go. Oh, man. All right. Well, that's going to take us to the top of the hour. We'll be back after this. We'll have the top 5. And we will continue on. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave. Alrighty, we're back here on the Gary Ayd Show, Hour 2, cavetalkradio.com, the Cave Talk Radio app for Apple and Android, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Amazon Alexa. Great to have you aboard. Gary Ayd, Rich Anselmo, and it's time now for what we do every day at the top of the hour, Top 5.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time for Cave Talk Radio's Top 5.
Alrighty, what do we got for the Top 5 today, Rich?
Give me your top 5 box office players in Major League Baseball right now.
Ooh, I love it. I know where this came from.
Yeah, it made me change what I was gonna do.
All right, well, Shohei Ohtani has to be number 1. He has to be.
They don't call him Showtime for nothing.
He's got to be number 1. I would say this year, Judge has been a clear number 2. I've always found Bryce Harper to be captivating. He reminds me in one specific way, not that I was alive to watch him play, but from what I've read, watched, and learned through history, he reminds me in one specific way of Mickey Mantle, in that he never gets cheated on any of his swings. He goes for broke every time he swings the bat. His swing is ferocious, and he wants to break the baseball every time.
Yes, he does.
And
look at the difference in the Phillies from when he was out to now.
Makes a huge difference, huge impact, no question. So that's
now. What if I have a question for you? Sorry for interrupting. What if Harper went to Tampa Bay? Would that move the needle there?
You would hope so. I to your point, maybe nothing. Maybe it's just a lost cause of a city. But if he didn't, I think you would be, as the ownership group, well enough to say, we've done everything we can to create sizzle here in this place. You know, it's like building a campfire on a puddle. Can't do it.
Yeah.
And then that would be grounds, in my opinion, to relocate the franchise, as if they don't already have those grounds. I think they probably should already do that, but that's just me. So Bryce Harper, I think, would be a third. I don't know what I'm struggling with. There's a handful of pitchers I feel this way about, but the problem I'm having is, do I want to include people that only play every 5th day on a list like this? And I don't know if I do, because I'll just name a couple of names just to throw out a list, and we can narrow it down. We'll see if any make the cut. Verlander is incredible. I love watching him pitch.
Another 5 innings of no-hit ball yesterday.
He's a beast. Jacob deGrom.
Didn't he do that last week too?
Yeah, just kind of a normal thing for him, it feels like. Jacob deGrom comes to mind. 2 closers. The Dodgers closer, what's his name? Drawing a blank on his name right now. He's a Spanish guy. He's insane. And then Diaz on the Mets. I mean, you talk about box office. Diaz can come in. He looks like a bulldozer sometimes. Like, I watched him against, who was it? Maybe it was the Philly or but he came in and he got like 3 outs in it was Milwaukee. That's who it was. It was Milwaukee. He got like 3 outs in like 90 seconds. Like, he struck like 2 guys out, like 3 guys out in like a minute or 2. It was absolutely crazy. And you had to help me with the name of that Dodgers catcher. Dodgers closer, excuse me.
Craig Kimbrell was their closer for so long. I'm trying to I'm trying to think of who it is.
Oh no, it's a Spanish guy. I'm just gonna do a quick Google search right now. because this is gonna drive me crazy. And I know his name. I could see his face. He comes in like a bulldog. He mows people down, and I just can't remember the name of him right now. Let's see. Julio Urias. There it is.
Yes, yes.
Yep, that's the guy. He's a beast. He's so
Well,
much
he's
fun
a
to watch.
starter. He's not a closer. He's a starter. Urias starts. He doesn't close.
Huh. He was a
Craig Kimbrell has 22 saves.
okay. Well, he's
for the
not. He's
Dodgers.
nowhere near box office.
No,
Urias was a closer at one point, wasn't he?
no, he's been a starter. I mean, he started 31 games this year. He's never really.
Okay. I don't know who I was thinking about then. It definitely wasn't Kimbrel. He
The
doesn't.
closer for the Mets this year, and
Well, Diaz. Diaz.
and Clase, the closer for the Indians, was closing in on 40 saves.
Right. Yeah, it's not who I was thinking about either. Any case.
I just don't know if a pitcher can be box office.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like Diaz would be the only one that I would say because of, and I know a lot of like fogies will say, well, it shouldn't be like that, blah blah blah. But like the whole like entry music that he brings, like it brings an energy. It absolutely does. It defines box office in some
Right.
respects. But another guy that comes to mind as a guy that I turned on the TV to watch is I'm a big fan of this kid in Seattle, Rodriguez. He's really good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's really good. I'm a big fan of his, and I've always really enjoyed the play, and I can't stand it because he kicked our butt. But Dansby Swanson always like jumps off the page to me as like this guy's about to do something crazy. But
He's one of those makes things happen.
he really is.
I don't know if he's box office.
Yeah, so I think my guys, number 1 is Ohtani. Number 2 this year has been Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
I didn't mention Pete Alonso.
He's on my list.
Yeah, so I'm gonna throw him in here. But number 3 is gonna be Bryce Harper.
Okay, I had Harper lower. Okay.
Number 4, I think I'm gonna go with Alonso.
Okay.
And number 5, I am gonna throw a pitcher in here. I have to say, I am captivated by what Justin Verlander does. It's incredible to me. At his age in particular, it's unreal.
Okay. Well, our top 4 were the same.
Okay.
I'll throw a 5th name in there, O'Neal Cruz. I've seen him enough now this year since the Pirates called him up. The whole stadium stands when he comes to bat.
What about Pujols? I know he's like 100 years old, but he's been box office this year, especially the second half.
Yeah, but there's extenuating circumstances with that. He wouldn't be as much box office if he wasn't leaving.
Right, and if he wasn't setting records.
Right.
But he is.
He is.
So this year, there's been...
But I'm thinking if I want to start a team with someone...
Right.
Which is why I kind of pick Cruz, even though he's young. The only problem with Cruz is the market he plays in. But, like I said, I've been there enough this year. They stand up when he comes to bat. The whole place just stops what they're doing. That's captivating. That's also the reason they're averaging 4,000 more per game this year than they did last. And they still have an awful record. Can you imagine if O'Neal Cruz played in a major market?
I mean, that would be great. I would know what he looks like.
That's the only thing that stopped me about him.
It's like Mike Trout. We didn't even mention him in this whole conversation. Because, like, you know, he's kind
I
of
had Trout
anonymous.
on my list, but I don't think he's box office.
Yeah, he's a bit anonymous. That's the problem.
Right. Cruz, like I said, I had him as my 5th, and I took him off because of where he plays. But I'll tell you, this kid's exciting, and you have to make a chance to watch him. But for my 5th, I'll tell you who moves the needle: Jose Altuve.
That's a good one. That's a real good one.
And you know something? Out of anyone we've mentioned, including Cruz and Verlander and Trout, none of them, I don't think, would move the needle in Tampa Bay. And I think that says so much more about the market than the player.
No, I totally agree. All right, well, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll do our season preview. We got news you can use to still get to. And of course, we got little extra something planned as well. So it's the Gary Ayd Show back after this here on The Cave. All righty, we're back here on the Gary Ayd Show, and we continue our NBA season preview. Who we got today, Rich?
Today we have the Lakers.
Oh,
And to me, the Lakers' whole season depends on one man, Dwayne Bacon.
yes, extra crispy. All right, well, let's just say we're doomed.
It depends on Anthony Davis.
Yes. Yep.
Can you get more? Can you get 65 games out of this guy? I don't even need 80.
No.
65. Can you not have the 17 he misses be any part of any games LeBron would miss?
Right. And can you get Westbrook to play a role? I
don't think it's going to happen. He's not a good fit. He will not be a good fit. But I also think he's going to do better this year than he did last.
I agree.
You're hoping he learned something from this? I don't know. It's hard to get a guy who's been in the league 14 years to change what he does, especially considering the success he's had.
Right. That's very true.
But there's not great depth on this roster.
No, there's not.
Lonnie Walker intrigues me. They've got 1 year to see what they can do with him. Dennis Schroeder's back. I don't know why. I do like Austin Reeves. I think a healthy Kendrick Nunn helps this team. If he's not going to be in a rotation, move him.
I think the biggest problem I had with the Lakers offseason is why did they not just retain Malik Monk? Like, it's not like the Kings paid. He went, for God's sakes, he went to the Kings. They didn't pay him a King's ransom either. That to me made no sense for all parties involved. Made no sense for the Lakers. It really didn't make a lot of sense for Beasley. He could have done a lot better than that financially, not to mention situationally. And the Kings are going to stink. It made no sense for them. Like, the whole thing made no sense.
And going to the Kings, you're going to a team where the one place they have people is the backcourt.
Right. Well, you're right. It doesn't even fit. Right now, the whole thing was dumb. Now, that aside.
Well, they did bring in Patrick Beverly, who I think's one.
That helps. And I'm also looking, I want to see what this, forget his first name right now, Jones, the big man up front, the young guy. I want to see what he brings to the table. I'm curious about him. I think Austin Reeves is due for a much improved season. He was pretty good last year.
Jones, the kid from Vanderbilt?
Yes.
He's been around for like 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, he's new to this team. And he's going to be in the starting lineup. It looks like, at least according to what Darvin Ham has said. And
as long as he's been in the league, I never saw enough of him to get a read on.
He's never done much, right? I agree. I think
and I wonder, putting a kid in that position, I don't know. Yeah. I'll wait and see on it because I need to see him more.
There's a lot about this roster that makes you ask questions. The one thing that's working in their favor is if Westbrook improves and Davis is healthy, you're going to have monumental improvement.
Yes.
Right from there. And then if those two things happen, there's a ripple effect. You'll start seeing better spacing. Guys like Beverly and Reeves will have open shots. They'll hit open shots, and there'll be sort of a cascading effect. But to your point, it all comes down to health with this team. And then secondarily to cohesion. I still think Russell Westbrook at some point is going to be a sixth man on this team. I really do. I think that would make a huge difference. He's expressed an indication that he's willing to do whatever it takes to win. He said that recently. He was asked specifically how he felt about being a sixth man, and that was his response. I think ultimately the best starting lineup for this team, if I was putting this together, is Beverly, Reeves, LeBron, Davis, and Jones, with Westbrook leading the second unit. That's what I would do. I would also try to find some front court help. I
don't know if I can say Jones because I don't know enough about him.
Yeah, he's a big body that's got some athleticism and length, and you know, if he's capable of just doing that dirty work with those physical tools, that's what you want him in there for, because it's well known that Davis doesn't like to do that on a night-to-night basis. He'll do it in big spots and in important matchups, but he doesn't want to do that on a night-to-night basis. And that's, and that's that. So,
and of course, you always got to look at LeBron. It's year 19. He's going into year 20 now.
I know, it's incredible.
What if he falls off?
Yeah,
I don't expect it. because he's a freak of nature.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see any reason to expect it either. I mean, one thing I will say, fair or foul in terms of the Lakers season and their winnings, they are going to be the beneficiary most likely of another historical moment. LeBron James, presuming health and close to sustained play, will at some point this year most likely pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the league's all-time scoring leader. So that's like, that alone makes the season worth watching. That's going to, as it gets closer and closer, that's going to be a big, big moment. I can't wait for that personally. I mean, that's a record that has been in place basically for as long as I've been alive. And, you know, it made me think about this. This generation, the generation of players that are now in their late 30s or into their 40s, a couple of guys hanging around, like from the early 2000s, that generation of player produced one in the three of the four major sports. One guy who is a all-time great. Pujols in baseball, breaking records of Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron. Well, not Hank Aaron, but, you know, coming close to Hank Aaron. LeBron James, going to be the all-time scoring leader. And, of course, Tom Brady. Those three guys.
I'll give you a fourth. Alexander Ovechkin.
He's nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah, he's somewhere. He's chasing Gretzky's goal mark.
Didn't you say he's like eons away from his points mark, though?
Oh, points I'm not even looking at.
Oh, okay. That's why I left him off.
Everyone is.
Right. That's why I left him off. Because
but if you pass 894 goals, you've had a hell of a career, and that's what Gretzky's got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess because he's nowhere close in points. That's why I was, because I thought about him. I thought about him and Crosby, but I left them off for that reason, because the other three guys I mentioned,
neither of them are anywhere near.
They're nowhere
Gretzky.
Near. And the other three guys I mentioned, there's no qualifier of, well, they're nowhere near this. No, they're at or surpassed all the records, particularly Brady.
Yeah.
Ron's about to be the scoring leader all time in the NBA, and Pujols is in the top 5 all time in home runs, and within a season or so, striking distance, 2 seasons probably, of being second. You know, so that's you know, but anyway, yeah, you could throw in, if you want to throw in Ovechkin, you can. I intentionally left him off for that reason, but
just for the fact, if he breaks that goals record, that's something.
That's okay. So we can go there. And so, yeah, I mean, that's just amazing that one generation produced guys in 3 of the 4 sports that you could argue are the greatest of all time. I mean, you could make an argument that Pujols is the greatest offensive player in baseball history. You can definitely make an argument that Brady is the greatest quarterback ever. I think most people just take that as a statement of fact. I don't, but, you know, certainly the argument's there. And then of course, LeBron, I would argue, is the best basketball player of all time. I've said that for years now, but it's just amazing that they're all from the same generation.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. But as far as the Lakers this year, I don't know where to put them. They're the ultimate wild card to me, Rich. I have no idea. I have no clue where I'm going to put them.
I feel the same way. They can either win the West or be a 7th seed.
Right. Or be out of the playoffs again.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Golden State will be better. Phoenix will have a better record, although I think they're going to fall down quite a bit because of what they caused for themselves. I think Denver will probably have a better record. I think the Lakers could be somewhere at a high water mark. I could see them being 4th between Denver and Dallas. At the low water mark, I could see them, you know, being a play-in team.
Yeah.
And I have no idea which way it's going to go. So I'm just going to, in the interest of splitting the difference, I'm going to go 6th. Just picking a number.
That sounds about right. Plus, I'll tell you who intrigues me on this roster. As far as rookies, they don't have draft picks. They brought a couple of undrafted players in. Well, they did have a second round draft pick. But they brought in 2 undrafted players this year, but one of them, Scottie Pippen Jr.
Yes.
This kid can play defense.
Yes.
Gee, I wonder where he got that
I have
from.
no idea where that could have come from, right?
That's going to be interesting. Yeah, LeBron's got to average what, about 23 points a game and play 80 games
Yeah,
to get that?
Or he's got to average about 27 and 60 games, which is more likely.
Kind of what he did last year.
Yeah, he averaged 30 last year. So, yeah, I think he'll get there by season's end or close to it. I'm going to guess that somewhere around Valentine's Day or thereabouts, we'll start seeing him pretty much be on the watch. Like, we'll be, I think that's about the time of year where you can expect that to be happening.
And I'll say one more thing. If you look at all the great scorers in this league and what they have done, and I just pulled up the top 50.
Yeah.
I'm looking at no one who has passed 10,000 rebounds and 10,000 assists.
Oh, he's one of one.
Besides LeBron.
Yeah, he's one of one. That's why I always tell people there's a likelihood that he will retire with 40,000 points, second or third all time in assists, and over 10,000 rebounds. I mean,
which he already has.
Right, which he already has. So, like, he's going to retire with 30, 10, and 10. But there's a chance he retires with, like, 40, 12, and 10.
Yeah.
Or 12 and 12 even, or 12 and 11. Like, his overall statistics in those 3 categories are going to be so far beyond the pale that it's laughable. I mean, and, we always talk about how Steph Curry changed the game with his shooting. LeBron changed the game with his Swiss Army knife style. Like, if you notice, since LeBron, the triple-double, the ability to get that, there's so many more guys that can regularly do that now that didn't used to exist. LeBron ushered in this era of needing to be switchable, needing to be versatile, needing to be able to play multiple positions on both sides of the ball. Those long athletic wings being more prized. That's all LeBron's fingerprints. I mean, you don't have LaMelo Ball. You don't have Luka Doncic. You don't have guys like this without the impact of LeBron James. I mean, it's just his style of play being able to give you 20 plus 7 and 7 every night. That used to be pretty much him, Oscar, and Bird, and maybe Rick Barry, but Barry not so much with the passing.
Oh yeah, Barry was a great passer.
Yeah, but he didn't consistently accumulate those 7, 8, 9, 10 assist games the way those other 3 guys I mentioned did. But he was close. But like that was the whole list. Maybe there's like 2 more. John Havlicek maybe at one point. He didn't really get the rebounds or assist totals. I mean, it was a rare thing. Now, that's the expectation.
Yeah.
And LeBron created that. But
Doncic is living up to it.
Doncic is living up to it. Ball has his moments with it. But now there's going to be all these guys that do that. But like to come anywhere close to where LeBron's going to finish, you're going to have to do it at that level for 20 plus years.
Right.
It's not going to happen. It's going to be very difficult to happen. It really is.
I'm looking at Shaq and his career numbers. And he's got over 13,000 rebounds for his career.
Yep.
And Elvin Hayes has got 16,000. So does Moses Malone. Does anyone break the 24,000 that Wilt got?
No, not a chance.
Oh my God.
No way. No way.
To me, that's the closest thing to an unbreakable NBA record.
Yeah, that's never gonna. No one's touching that. I think the 2 unbreakables are his rebounding record and Stockton's assist record. No one's touching those. I don't think. But I gotta tell you, I don't know where the Lakers are gonna finish. I really don't. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back and we will do some news you can use, and we will continue on from there. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on the Cave.
Let's get back to the Gary Ayd Show on the Cave, Orange County's conversation station.
All right, we're back. What do we got on news you can use today, Rich?
Oh, we have some tasty little news nuggets today.
Oh, right. Nuggets. I love nuggets.
LeBron James was asked about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and if he's had any discussions with him about the record, etc. He said no thoughts and no relationship.
I did see that.
That's all he said.
Yep.
Everyone's talking about the scoring record. LeBron's chasing other stuff too, and this is interesting. I'm not surprised LeBron doesn't have a relationship with Kareem. Kareem's been critical of him.
Yes.
And last year he took him to task for doing that that big balls dance, and he got fined. LeBron got fined for it. But I remember Kareem saying, winning's enough. You don't have to do a stupid dance and show disrespect. Goats don't need to do that. I kind of agreed with Kareem, but it's a different generation.
And Kareem, even among his contemporaries, was a stoic, boring, sort of surly, impersonable type of guy. He was an intelligent guy.
Very, very. I've had the pleasure of speaking with him. Highly intelligent.
But he's not what you would call. I remember reading a story. It's not what you would call gregarious. I remember reading a story some years after they had both retired. Kareem approached Magic Johnson about basically like saying, hey, you've managed to do a lot of cool stuff since your retirement. How do I do that? Like, help me do, something similar to what you do in terms of business and the movers and shakers that he powwows with all the time and stuff. And Magic and Kareem, of course, through their careers had, an up and down relationship because they were such different people. Magic candidly told Kareem, he's like, you don't want to do what I do. He said, because it involves smooching people, holding hands and kissing babies and being generally friendly and engage in small talk and smile for the camera. And he's like, you don't do any of that. It's not you. So I would imagine there's more than one person that doesn't have a great relationship with Kareem, let alone someone who's 30, 40 years younger than him, 45 years younger than him.
Right.
You know?
And I mean, Kareem did it last year too with the COVID thing,
Yes.
where LeBron posted a meme about COVID. He says, that's encouraging people not to get vaccinated. And first of all, Kareem, you're a 75-year-old man arguing about memes.
There's that
And
too.
second, I give LeBron a lot of credit. He refused to engage with it. He said, I don't have a response for Kareem at all. So I'm not surprised they don't have a relationship.
Right.
Although you have Kareem saying a lot of things about, setting up a whole school and sending them to college, and his willingness to back up what he says with his wallet. He goes, you got to give him credit for that.
Yes, he did say that. Part of an apology, if I remember.
Yeah, but then he topped it off by saying something else. It wasn't very flattering. So think about this. LeBron's, unless something happens, will break the record at some point this year, February or March at the latest, I'd say. He's only 96 assists behind Magic for sixth place on the all-time list.
Isn't that something?
He could catch him like by the beginning of December.
Right. Yeah, so he's going to have more assists than Magic and more points than Kareem, and it's the same person.
That's...
I mean, if someone had said to you, let's put it this way. If someone had said to you in like the early 90s, let's say like 92 or 93, like shortly after both have been retired, that in 20 years, 30 years, there's going to be a guy who's going to retire with more points than Kareem and more assists than Magic Johnson, would you have believed anyone if they said that?
Of course not. Neither would you.
No, of course not. It's incomprehensible. And oh, by the way, for good measure, he's going to have about as many rebounds as Tim Duncan too. Like, it's insanity.
It is.
And one person
really
did all
is.
that. It really is crazy. All right, what else we got?
Christian Yelich had to take to the press yesterday to explain the Brewers' disappointing season. All right, now I have an issue with this. They're out. They were out with 2 games left. He talked about the team's struggle to find an identity and the impact of the trade deadline, trading a closer who all of a sudden has been lighting it up since early September for the Padres.
Yes, he has.
Well, wait a minute here. How about looking in the mirror? You're a 2-time MVP, and it hasn't been that long. When have you come close to those numbers?
Yeah, where are you, Yelich? Absolutely. I'm sure, and I know our resident Brewer, Jack George, would absolutely agree with that. He gets
hitting
on Yelich all the
250
time.
with about 17 homers is not MVP numbers.
No. It's barely league average numbers. I mean, it's not good. It's bad. Is what it is.
You expect more out of someone with that kind of ability.
For someone with that ability. That's what I was just going to say. Absolutely.
Now, they asked Brandon Woodruff the same question, and he didn't get into any of that. He said the last month we've had a lot of fun. We brought in some stuff like a ping pong table, and it brought us together. He said, looking back now, I wish we'd have started that a long time ago. That makes a little more sense than what Yelich said, because he didn't put the blame on other players. And as an underperformer, you shouldn't be doing that anyway, because you were far from what you should have been.
Yes.
So far.
Nope, I agree.
Let's stay with the Lakers for a while.
Yes, let's do it.
They're reportedly not planning to pursue Kyrie Irving in free agents. And Kareem, again, came out and said that Kyrie is a, quote, comical buffoon.
Yes. Yeah, and if
there's two things I want to hear you talk about.
Well, if I may, I'm going to start with the latter, with Kareem's comment, because I actually got into a discussion on social media about this very topic yesterday. I think that the underlying sentiment that is fueling comments like that from Kareem is basically across the entire NBA landscape in terms of their thinking about Kyrie, because the NBA, as we know, is very much a groupthink type of organization and entity. It's very much fraternal in that way. And Kyrie bucked the fraternity during the vaccine craze. He said, no, I'm not doing it. Yes, I'm willing to sacrifice as much as I need to, including the rest of my career, because I feel strongly about this. I am not putting that in my body, and that's that. And not only did he do that, but he won because the mechanism keeping him from playing, that local ordinance in New York, was eventually rescinded, along with all the other COVID era restrictions, as people came to their senses. So I think that the NBA generally is embittered and salty toward Kyrie because he told them no, and then he won, and now they have no power to exact revenge for him daring to leave the plantation, so to speak. And I think they're pissed about that. And Kareem is basically being a mouthpiece to such that extent. And so he's a buffoon for what? Standing up for his beliefs, daring to have his own opinion on something and stand by it and be willing to sacrifice what was necessary for his beliefs. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Friend of Martin Luther King Jr. I thought that was a good thing, to stand by one's convictions. I'm not comparing what Kyrie did to what King did, of course, but I'm comparing what it took, which is incredible individual conviction, willingness to go against the grain, and a willingness to sacrifice to achieve what they believed in, and that they are similar in. And I thought you were all about that, Mr. Kareem. What a joke.
That bothered me too. I mean, I don't agree with Kyrie on some things.
Me either, but I respect the hell out of him now. I respect him more post-COVID than I did before, for that very reason. It took real guts to do that. He had to sacrifice a lot of money, and he didn't know that it was months away. He could have been facing the end of his career for all he knew at the time. That took real courage. It really did.
I agree. And he just walked with the backlash. He did not care.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Let's see what else we have here. The New York Islanders, who didn't do enough in this offseason, as far as I'm concerned, did finally agree to terms with Matthew Barzal on an 8-year extension. It's a little over $8 million a year, and getting him at this age is smart. You locked up someone for the future. They still have a lot of work to do, but that was a good move.
And who is this?
Matthew Barzal. He's a forward, and he's an excellent scorer. He plays a real nice two-way game. He adds a lot to that team, and I was hoping they weren't going to let him get away, and I'm glad they locked him up.
That's good stuff. You always like to see people signing guys who have earned those extensions.
And proved it. I mean, why let him go somewhere else to reap all the benefits of all the building with this player that you did?
Right.
That never makes any sense to me in any sport.
You know what's interesting to me, from our friends at Front Office Sports here? Baseball is going to set some significant benchmarks for revenue this year, led by merchandising, which is at, according to Noah Garden, the CRO of MLB, they sold more merchandise this year in the history than at any point in the history of the sport. And merchandise sales is a real good indicator of the things that we always talk baseball doesn't do well, which is the individual star building and branding. I mean, because merchandise generally is jerseys, right? Like that's the biggest.
Right.
That I mean, there's obviously a lot of other things, but that's the biggest one. And jerseys are, of course, of particular players more times than not. So, but it's weird the disconnect between that. That shocked me, Rich. That's why I'm bringing it up. I was shocked by that.
I read that this morning, and I wasn't shocked that it was merchandise. I've been to a lot of Major League Baseball games this year, and there's jerseys everywhere. Everywhere. Say I went to a game in Toronto. I guarantee you'll see at least 25,000 people wearing jerseys. In Pittsburgh, when I saw a weekend series with Milwaukee, not only do you have people wearing a lot of Pirates jerseys, and Cruz is really taken off with that. But the Milwaukee fans that made the trip wearing the Yelich and wearing the Burns and a lot. So the numbers kind of surprised me, but I'm not totally surprised just from what I've seen. But I didn't realize the numbers were that high.
There you go.
I have a sad story, and I don't like reporting these, but former WNBA first-round pick Tiffany Jackson died at 37 from her battle with breast cancer.
Oh, man, that's a shame.
We wish the family well. You hate seeing anyone go, but
Yeah, that's young too. Yeah, it really is.
Ex-NFL running back LeGarrette Blount involved in a youth football game fight.
Crazy parent?
Gilbert, Arizona. It doesn't say. He's a coach. But the fight was over before cops even got there. He apologized for his role in the fight. He said video footage, his direct quote, "Today video footage was sent to TMZ in regards to my actions at a football game this past weekend. Unfortunately, the video shared did not display all of the details and events that transpired. Regardless of that, I take full responsibility for my part in putting myself in this situation." You should. You're a former NFL player.
Bill Belichick just cut you 8 years after he cut you the last time.
But he says, as a leader, a coach, a father, and a role model, I understand my actions are unacceptable.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, they are.
Oh, well.
Easy enough to say.
Easy enough. All right.
You're a big poker guy, right?
I am. I love poker.
Poker world rocked by cheating allegations during a live stream.
A vibrating device around a woman's breast, I believe it was.
Yes.
Now, this might sound pig-headed of me, but oh well. If I'm going to be a female, and she was relatively attractive, if I'm going to be a female...
Would you be a relatively attractive female?
Probably not.
Okay.
Which is why I'm not a female. One of the reasons. But if I'm a female and I'm going to cheat and I'm relatively attractive and I'm going to use a vibrating device that I'm ostensibly trying to hide somewhere on my body so as not to get caught, I have to understand that poker is heavily a male activity. Where are male's eyes going to be most often, especially with low shirt cleavage that she had rocking? I'm just saying.
Oh, yes.
That's a bad place to put the thing that you're trying to hide.
Someone's going to notice.
That's where they're staring. Just.
In fact, I'm surprised it took them as long as it did.
Why not put it on the inside of your arm or something, like on your tricep?
Right. Ain't nobody looking there.
That's right.
Now, we had three scandals in sports that really don't get a lot of TV viewership. The other two, which I'm not going to get into the individual stories due to time, but if you think sports scandal, you're thinking college basketball, college football. You think, no, the three sports were poker, fishing, and chess.
Yes. Poker, fishing, and chess. Fishing is close-ish, sort of, to a sport. Not really, but kind of close. Poker and chess. Oh my God. All I can say to that. And I love poker and chess for that matter, but let's call it what it is. They're not sports.
And this was a big deal, the fishing one. They had devices that fudged weight. And I guess it would be easy to fudge a little weight if the combined weight of your catch was about 2,600 pounds.
Yeah, really.
But if you have to cheat at fishing, oh, this wacky world we live in. That's it.
Alrighty.
That's all I got.
There we go. Well, that was a good show today.
It's going to be fun tomorrow. We got Thursday night football. We're going to do our predictions for baseball too.
There we go.
As well as the Thursday night football game. Hopefully there's no more fishing scandals.
Or poker cheating scandals.
Yes. And how do you cheat in chess?
It's a really good question.
Aren't there like people standing around watching?
Yes, there are.
You got to be good then if you can cheat with that many people around you. I say it's a skill.
Absolutely. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
That's right. Hey, you want to do our NFL power rankings tomorrow as well?
Yes, let's do that.
Sounds good.
So we got that.
We're gonna have a great show tomorrow.
Absolutely. Can't wait. It's gonna be fun. All right. Well, for the time being, that does it for us. For Rich Anselmo, I'm Gary Ayd saying so long. We'll be back tomorrow, 10 to noon. Until then, enjoy Cave Talk Radio, titillating sports with Rick Tittle. Up next here on The Cave.